Hi there, Crystal Summer Bear Jones with Wedding Secrets and Heirloom Photography. I'm coming to you here today in Reno. I'm actually traveling, and so that's why there's a different background, but it's quite very quiet here. I'm actually at my cousin's house, and she lives at a very lovely, secluded place over in Collin Ranch. Such a lovely area. I'm doing a portrait session this evening, so I wanted to take a moment and go ahead and do a couple of videos that have really been on my mind lately. And because I just went to a wedding expo that they had wedding dresses at, and I thought it would be a great opportunity to chat about that because I saw so many exquisite wedding dresses. And I'm just so excited about the fact that the trend of wedding dresses is to have a little bit more bling on them. And I know for a while it was just a lot the trend was just more simple, um, like satin gowns with gatherings here and there, or just basic lace dresses. I always like a little bling on mine. My wedding dress was very sparkly because my theme was Milky Way Galaxy. But I had some reservations about my dress. In fact, I was actually in tears when I picked up my dress after it was altered because I saw somebody else with a wedding dress, and I was just like, oh, how come that dress wasn't available when I bought it? Well, I'm going to share with you a little secret that you may or may not know, and that is that when you go to buy a wedding dress, the whole goal of that boutique is to sell you the dress right then and there because they know that if you leave their boutique without purchasing the wedding dress, the likelihood that you're going to come back and buy from them drastically decreases. And so they're going to tell you, well, you better buy it now because it could take 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months for it to come in, or it may not be available when you're ready to purchase. I wouldn't worry about that. There are so many amazing wedding dresses out there that if it's meant to be, it will be. I bought my wedding dress. I chose it on my birthday. My mom and my sister and my niece came with me, and it was a lot of fun. Looking back, I do wish that I had not purchased that dress on that day because they had told me, oh, it'll take a couple weeks to come in. It only took a week to come in, and I actually wasn't even ready to purchase it when it came in, and I had to wait another week before I picked it up. So, my suggestion is if you're purchasing off the rack, which most brides do, you have plenty of time. The only time that it takes that much time to get a dress is if it's a custom made dress for you, or it's a dress that's maybe in Europe that they literally make it when you order it. And that is a question you want to ask. And again, they're going to say, you should buy this now because you never know if it's going to be available when you want to purchase it. Well, who knows? A better dress might be available later on. So if you're not 100% sure, like I got my dress, I loved it, but it wasn't a corset dress. And then they wanted to charge me $800 to turn it into a corset dress. I should have just gone with my gut and waited and come back a month later or 2 months later even and seen if they had a corset dress available, because I was unwilling to pay $800, and that was the starting price, to turn it into a corset when the dress itself was only $1,200. So that would have brought the dress up to $2,000. As it was, it ended up being about $1,800 after I had to get it hemmed, and I did have to have it fitted around my breasts a little bit. And it still, by the end of the night, was like coming down. And that's because I didn't have sleeves on it. And I didn't have the corset. They put boning in it, but it literally did nothing. I paid $300 for them to put extra boning in it, and it didn't do hardly anything. So going back, I do wish that I had actually paid that $800 for the corset because it would have held me up the entire night. It would have been custom to me, so it wouldn't have dug into me like the corsets you buy online do. I have a very short waist and very long legs, and so when I sit down, I have like this much of my waist when I sit down. It's really short. So like from the bottom of my breast to like my thigh is actually that long. And so my corsets all have to be quite short, or they have to be not all the same length, but like be shorter right underneath my breast and then go up maybe a little bit higher on the side of my breasts. And I do wish I had done that. The other thing I could have done, and I didn't think about it, was that I was already customizing my dress as is. I wanted some color in my dress. So I actually sewed in different colored tools, and it was just beautiful. And with the like glitter that I had on my dress, it just made it look like Starry Night. It was quite lovely, and it turned out lovely in the photographs. But what I could have done was I did have off the shoulder sleeves that I actually sewed on. They were meant to be long sleeves, but I didn't want that. So I made off the shoulder. I could have worn my bra that I actually have that comes with see-through straps and just put a nice lace over it. And it would have been lovely, and I would have felt much more supported by the end of the night. The only thing that it would have been is that I did have a little bit of the boning kind of puffed out a little bit on my sides that made my waist look a little bit bigger than it was. So that was a little frustrating. And again, a corset would have solved that problem. A corset built into the dress, not a corset that I wore underneath. Because even a corset, if I'd worn underneath, still would have bunched a little bit because my waist is so short. So I say all this to tell you that you really need to purchase a dress based on your body type. Mine still looked amazing on me, but if I had a drop waist, which I was looking at getting a drop waist, and I did try on a drop waist dress, but there was none that was as beautiful as my dress. So I kind of had to compromise and get a dress that had a little bit higher waist, and instead of getting a drop waist, which is a little bit lower waist, that makes your waist look a little bit longer. Now, if I had just waited a couple months, the dress that I saw this bride trying on when I went to go pick up my wedding dress right before my wedding would have been available. I still would have wanted to make changes to it, but it had a drop waist and it was so lovely. It may not have looked lovely on me, I don't know, but I would have had more options to choose from. And so don't ever feel pressured to buy the dress, because off the rack dresses usually only take a couple weeks to come in. It's the custom ones that take a long time. Their whole goal is to sell you the dress before you leave the store. Don't feel pressured to do that. And that is my number one recommendation when it comes to buying wedding dresses. So this is a shorter video because since I'm traveling, I'm not going to be on my Zoom being able to show you the dresses. I do actually want to try on my wedding dress and show it to you at some point, but I actually need help getting into the dress. I can't try it on by myself. So I have to wait. Maybe my husband will help me one of these days. But yeah, so it's actually our 1-year anniversary. I actually have a wedding on our 1-year anniversary. So I'm very excited to be able to photograph a wedding on our 1-year anniversary. But I'm thinking maybe the day before or the day after, I might surprise him and try to put on my wedding dress or have him, have a fun time and put it on. So yeah, I would love to show that to you but I will be posting some photos of what I'm talking about below. Now in post, when I was editing my wedding photos, because the photos I got back, go back and look at the previous video about when I talked about my photography. My photographer did not do any edits, even though it was included in the price. He literally touched up nothing at all. And it just wasn't worth me going back and fighting with him on that, since I have the ability to do it myself. So I went and touched up the sides of it a little bit so that it looked like the way I felt, and also what my waist looked like actually inside, because there was a little bit of bulging on the outside. So I'm going to share that, and then I'll share a photo of me where by the end of the night, my breasts weren't supported at all, and there was a plunging neckline. I'm dancing with my dad, and I'm just ugh, awkward much. So wedding dresses are an interesting topic because everybody has an opinion, and it's a very personal thing. The other thing I wanted to touch on is what not to do. For a while there was the mermaid dress was the thing to do. The mermaid dress looks good on very few people. I have photographed a number of brides who they looked pretty in the wedding dress, but that dress style was not the most flattering on their body type. It is not the most flattering on most people's body type. And I do by mermaid, I mean it goes straight down past your hips, past your thighs, and it comes together right below, right at your knees. And What does look good is a drop waist. That looks good on most people. And that goes down to maybe like your hips, like the waist goes down to your hips. Or you can even do, I forgot what that's called. It's not a mermaid, but it does go down a little bit. Um, it hugs your hips a little bit, and that can work too if you have a nice curvature in your waist. But you really want to think about this. It's also difficult to sit in and to sit in, and it just gets uncomfortable. So when you're picking out your wedding dress, be thoughtful of how comfortable you want to be. Also think about the weight. My dress was fairly heavy. I actually wore a like a not a girdle, but something that kind of I wore pants. It's like shorts and that go all the way up to your waist and kind of cinch you in a little bit. But I wore that so that my thighs and my legs weren't sweating throughout the day because I do have thicker thighs and they do touch, when I'm standing there. And so it's most of the time it's fine. It's not uncomfortable for me when I'm wearing a skirt, but it was going to be warm that day. It's in the middle of the summer. I'm wearing a lot of layers. So I wore that under thing and I was just so much more comfortable wearing that. And I loved all the layers. It wasn't too terribly heavy for me, but for other people, that might be really uncomfortable. So if you're getting married in the summer, then maybe wearing lighter wedding dress is the better thing to do. If you're getting married in the winter, I've seen a number of brides wear no sleeves or short sleeves in the middle of winter. If it's an indoor event, that's fine. If you're going outdoor, you want to have some kind of shawl because the last thing you want to do is be miserable standing up there at the ceremony. Now, the one thing I will say is that you won't hardly notice how cold or warm it is. It was a warm day. I do not remember sweating or being hot standing up at the altar. I was totally focused and in the moment. So I will be sharing the video. I actually need to finish re-editing my wedding video, kind of up to my standards because I have a more cinematic storytelling standards that most videographers don't have, which is why I call myself a cinematographer, not a videographer. But that's another video. But you'll see a lot of people are really warm, and I was just kind of really in the moment, and that's what it's going to be. So this is a quicker video because there's only so much you can do talking about wedding dresses. I do want to bring on at some point somebody like a stylist who can talk about the current trends of wedding dresses because I don't actually follow the current trends of fashion in general because to be honest, fashion is so across the board right now. It's so much, and the wedding dress fashion is always changing and different, and so it's just hard for me to keep up on those trends. But I met a lot of amazing people at the wedding expo, and I will be bringing in some new guests here soon, so stay tuned because I'm very excited. And I'm going to be touring some venues, so that's exciting too because there's a few newer venues. I'm also going to be doing an interview at a vineyard up in British Columbia. So if you're thinking about a destination wedding that isn't super uber expensive and not too terribly far, I would definitely consider British Columbia because they actually have a wine valley area and it's incredible. The photos are incredible. I can't wait to go up there and visit myself. All right, until next time. Bye.